Hello and welcome back to Cynical Optimists. I am Haddowinc.
And I am NGM.
Last week we had our very good friend Patrick on here and we were discussing 1985. However, this week we are back in the present day. We're talking present news.
We're back to the future.
Yeah. And we're talking Star Wars instead. That thing that took place, the first ones came out before 1985. But I digress. I think, shall we just get on with the news?
Let's just get on with the news. And unfortunately there isn't actually a lot.
No.
It's the middle of summer. All the studios and games companies even are bringing out their big releases, so they don't really feel the need to give us any news, because they don't need to, because we're excited enough about their summer products. So, there's a bit of TV news. This is where TV news comes into its element, because sort of the later time of the year is a peak for TV, if you like.
Well, the TV news comes out over the summer because for the majority of shows, that's when they're on their break.
Yeah.
Because they do the September
They either get
to May.
it before the big movie season or after the big movie season, generally, don't they? Right. I don't know if you knew, but the Stig was in a rights battle earlier in the week between Jeremy Clarkson's new show on Amazon and Top Gear, BBC's Top Gear. Yeah, they were both, because Clarkson created the character with Andy Willman, who are both now linked with this Amazon program.
Yeah.
But the BBC obviously had all the copyright stuff.
Yeah, because they own the copyright to Top Gear, to this Stig, to using the track probably.
Well, it's like, I think there was similar stuff between when Doctor Who was rebooted. The Terry Nation estate wanted the Dalek rights to stay with them, but the BBC managed to get it back in the end. Yeah,
and the whole thing about the rights to K9 being somewhere else, so K9 can only appear like.
Is that why he only?
Because the BBC don't have the proper rights to have him every week.
Is that why in
there's
the Sarah Jane Adventures there was just sort of him?
He just turned up basically just to very quickly solve the plot
and then fuck off
disappear.
again.
Yeah, there's like a TV.
I was wondering why his use was so underdone in that show.
Yeah, there's
that's
weird show called like K9 has gone for a few seasons because I think somewhere else owns the property to use them in TV shows at the moment. It's really weird. I'm not sure of the exact details, but I know that's why he wasn't in much of Sarah Jane Adventures.
Right, okay. So yeah, the Stig, it went to BBC in the end.
Yeah.
They got the rights for it. And he's not actually going to appear in Top Gear.
No?
Well, I don't know, he might do, maybe as a guest, but he's actually got a new show coming out.
So his own solo project?
Yeah. Obviously he can't talk, so it's going to be hosted by Dermot O'Leary, who recently left the X Factor.
Oh, wow.
It's called The Getaway Car, and the details they've released, it will see couples battling it out in a series of driving challenges.
Oh.
Yeah. Will the relationships between married couples, grandparents and grandchildren, siblings and best friends survive when they're behind the wheel facing all manner of tasks?
What?
The best couples will face Top Gear legend the Stig in an attempt to win prize money.
God, it's like the last step of the mascot before you kill him.
Oh, I know. It seems shit.
Surprised that the actual person who is the Stig hasn't just quit.
Yeah.
But then if he did, he would know about it, right?
Yeah, very true. Well, everyone heard about it last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they think people, when they drive, and backseat drivers and this, that and the other, is entertaining enough to make a TV show about.
And the fact they're not even keeping him for Top Gear.
Well, we don't know if they'll keep him for Top Gear or not, but he's got this.
He's got this commitment now, you know. It's a very exciting prospect that I hope he's getting paid a lot for. Either that or they'll use a different person in the same costume for the TV or for the game show.
Well, the thing is, like, the Stig and sort of that's like is trademarked, but the suit isn't trademarked because the suit is a I believe it's a Simpson Alpine Stars racing suit.
Yeah.
Basically in a non-custom colour. So to be honest, they probably could use the image of him in Clarkson's new show.
They could just call it like The Dig. It's like a dig.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like what we did there.
And just have him, just have the exact same suit, exact same thing, but just call him something.
Because I'm pretty sure they can't copyright, because there are race drivers that use the same Alpine styles costumes and this, that and the other.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's a combination of the costume and the name. Or
maybe,
something like that.
But I'm sure there will be a couple of digs at it in the new Clarkson show.
There probably will. They'll probably just get a suit and just have it on display somewhere as well. Like the elephant in the room in the last one.
That was a great joke. Oh, Phil, some news that you're going to love.
Oh, I can almost see it on your screen.
This isn't technically TV, luckily, or film. Your favourite character from Doctor Who is getting a spin-off.
Oh dear.
Phil, who's your favourite character from Doctor Who?
Not the one that you're talking about.
Strax.
The baked potato man.
Yeah. He's getting an audio spin-off. That's basically about... because you know they're doing other audio spin-offs as well, based on Unit and River Song.
Ah. Just tear your ears off now.
What's your favourite Strax quote, Phil?
Probably when he calls a little boy a little girl for comedic effect. And then
Which time was that?
All the times.
Oh, I hate that character.
He devalues like an entire... He brings down the entire like Sontaran in the whole of Doctor Who.
Because they look odd, admittedly.
It's their kind of like their culture and their vision that kind of made them intriguing enemies.
Yeah, they were.
This whole thing that they were all like clone and they're just going to keep on cloning and they're just completely proud species that had to face their opponents because their weakness was on their backs, kind of thing.
But this
now
is
it's just I'm a potato man.
Yeah, making jokes about dwarf and this and the other.
And throwing newspapers. Actually, that bit did make me laugh.
Yeah, that was such a weird scene.
It was such slapstick.
And it was so out of place, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was the weirdest. Yeah, that's about it for TV news. I said the TV news was supposed to be bigger this week, but there still really isn't a lot of that. It's been a new Supergirl trailer. And, yeah. There's a new Martin Scorsese film coming out starring, who do you think?
Martin Scorsese?
No, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, right.
Again.
Yeah, maybe you'll get an Oscar. I doubt it, though.
Zac Efron joins Baywatch.
That show's still going?
I don't know. I'm just reading headlines because
Have we talked about Fantastic Four yet?
No, we'll get to that in a sec. Godzilla writer promises a bigger and better sequel.
Will it feature Godzilla in more than the last, half hour?
Every sequel promises to be bigger and better, doesn't it?
That's the whole point of sequels, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but most of the time they're not. Apart from Dark Knight, Empire Strikes Back.
Shrek 2?
Shrek 2 was pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd treat it as one of the best sequels. Oh, Terminator 2. Terminator 2 was better. I'm sure there are other examples, but... there's a new Star Wars trailer. I say that.
That's a TV spot that's airing in Korea or something.
And when I say new trailer, there's they've slightly reshuffled the ordering of the footage from the previous two trailers, and I think there is 1 second of new footage.
Oh wow!
Yeah, less than that possibly.
Does it reveal any plot details that we didn't know before?
It's well, I say new footage, just a different shot of some of the same scenes we've seen so far in the trailers. So it gives nothing new away. I'm quite glad they're not giving a lot away, actually, to be fair.
Yeah. Keeps a surprise in it, doesn't it?
What else is there? Oh, Bill Murray is set to appear in the new Ghostbusters film, Paul Feig's Ghostbusters film.
Is this the all-female Ghostbusters?
Yes, it is.
I wonder if he's going to be a love interest. Wouldn't that be interesting?
Bill Murray.
So he goes from being, the protagonist in the old Ghostbusters, who was pursuing the love interest, to the pursued love interest.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I highly doubt it.
No.
He's a bit old for that role now. Maybe he'll be a ghost.
Oh, I like what you did there. I shut it. Mission Impossible is still at the top of the US box office.
Yeah, well, it was a close race between that and Fantastic Four, by the sounds of it.
No, that and Ant-Man.
That and Ant-Man.
Fantastic Four is not in the top
Well,
US
I know-
box office.
Oh, no, sorry, it's opening weekend
Right,
for
okay.
Fantastic Four. It was
It's...
crawling close to Mission Impossible.
Was it? Well, 'cause, I mean,
But that's where it got the majority of its funds. It still had like one of the worst opening weekends
Right, okay.
of a superhero film.
Yeah, it's not done amazingly well. Fox have sort of... actually, no, we'll move on to that in a minute.
Stay tuned, folks.
Oh, a bit more TV news, actually, that I missed. Did you ever watch Utopia on Channel 4?
I heard of it, didn't watch it.
Fantastic show. I mean, I've got it on DVD. I mean, it's just one of the best, most intriguing shows I've seen with like cinematography you don't normally see on TV. And unfortunately, it was cancelled by Channel 4 for low viewing figures, even though it was really good. But there was set to be a US remake at HBO, directed by David Fincher. Which would have been quite interesting. He did Fight Club, Seven, and some other big films. So that could have been really potentially good, but unfortunately that looks like it's also cancelled.
Oh.
I know. I'd rather they just go back to the original Channel 4 one, because that was pretty perfect anyway. But I'm running out. I've started watching Gotham on Netflix, because the first time I watched the pilot on Channel 5 or online or something, and didn't really blow me away.
No.
But as it's on Netflix, which is a lot easier to watch stuff on, after a couple of episodes, I really did get into it, and it's such a good show.
Well, DC seems to be doing alright with its TV shows, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like The Flash apparently is doing quite well.
Yeah. I don't know, but I probably wouldn't watch The Flash. It seems a bit strange to me, but
he's just running too fast.
Plus it sort of makes sense as a show. It's actually paying quite good sort of notice to the future Batman universe. Like there's mention of Venom. There's an episode where they test where the main sort of thing that they have to overcome is like the predecessor to Venom called Viper, and it's basically making people strong but killing them as well. So it's got lots of nice little links to Batman. And yeah, it's worth a watch. It's on Netflix now, so it's easier to watch than ever.
It's easier to binge watch rather than doing anything with your day.
Right, let's talk about Fantastic Four.
I'm not sure if you were putting it off or just you were putting it off because you didn't want to mention it, or putting it off because, you thought it was just going to be the longer part of the conversation.
Bit of both.
Well, yeah, it's not done well. It has like a Rotten Tomatoes score of something like 9%. I don't think I've seen a film score that low in a while.
I mean, I quite liked the look of it in early trailers and stuff.
Yeah.
I had quite a cool, like, gritty tone that's worked quite well with X-Men.
The main complaints I've been hearing from it, though, is just nothing happens in the entire film until the end. It's just a bit boring. And the director tweeted the other day about how he had a very nice cut of the film, but then the studio apparently fiddled with it.
Yeah,
all we can do is take his word for it at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
For all we know, his cut could have been even worse. I mean, it would have been interesting, considering how badly reviewed the current iteration is, for it to somehow be worse. But you never know.
It's a shame that if it is true, that it is a shame that these directors don't get
autonomy.
Control over it, because you've of course had. Well, have you heard the phrase? No, I can't even remember the phrase. A camel is a horse designed by society.
What?
I'm pretty sure that is a phrase. It's basically saying don't let everyone have an input, otherwise it could end up
with humps.
Fucking hell. Yeah. I don't know where I heard that phrase, but I heard that phrase. I'm pretty sure it's a phrase. Because this was the same thing that happened with Ant-Man. And I imagine it could have been very much a similar story if Edgar Wright had carried on with Ant-Man, but having been trumped with his vision by the studio. Because I think that was possibly the reason why he gave up on it, wasn't it?
But then this director has a bit of a history of disagreeing with, and having bad communication with studio execs.
Which one? Edgar Wright or Josh Trank?
Josh, whatever his name is. Because he's only actually had one film.
Chronicle,
which did quite well. But he was also looking at, for a while, to be linked to one of the Star Wars anthology films. Which apparently they...
Oh, yeah, wasn't that the guy who backed out of Star Wars so he could carry on with Fantastic Four?
No, as I've been reading up on it, apparently Star Wars heard about his poor communication skills of the executives at Fox.
Oh.
And told him, no, you're not doing this anymore, essentially. So he's had a few things which he's... So the thing is, like, as much as he might have been... You know, he might have had this great vision. If you can't communicate in the world... In the world where they're investing all this money in... Like,
I can understand why the studio... I mean, it's a shame that the studio got too involved with Edgar Wright's Ant-Man, but also, they do need to bear in mind that they are adhering to... Yeah,
they're investing money in a project, so they need to make sure it's gonna...
Yeah.
It's just unfortunately some... just don't know what they're talking... Some people invest their money and have no idea what they're fucking talking about with regards to these things. But
there are some projects...
If you had a director that only made one film, you'd probably be a bit more hands-on. And if he was not playing ball for whatever reason, then they were probably right to slap him a bit.
What films would you like to see done by directors? Done by certain directors?
Oh, certain directors. Every film has a direction.
Like, I thought, you've watched the Deadpool trailer now.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think an Edgar Wright Deadpool would be pretty good.
Well, we were talking about this briefly before we started recording, and the thing is, like, Edgar Wright's films, they have the surrealist element, but they're all quite more cynical. They're all kind of... If you look at The World's End, it was all... In the end, it was about people growing up and getting old and not wanting that to happen and things like that. And they were all kind of just... I don't think that kind of exact tone that Edgar Wright excels at would be right for a Deadpool movie, which needs to be far more over the top. And, like, you got all those very action-heavy scenes of explosions and it all being taken widely out of control.
I mean, it does look pretty good. It does look pretty up Deadpool's tone and stuff. A couple of worries, like, just from the trailer. I mean, I think the trailer's great, but I think there's a couple of scenes where it looks a bit too serious. I mean, yeah. From all the Deadpool comics I've read, it was never sort of like trying to like. There's this girl, sort of a woman involved, because God forbid you make a comic book movie and don't involve a love interest. I don't think that's particularly right for Deadpool's character. I don't know. From what I've read of Deadpool and from what I've seen of Deadpool, it doesn't.
And they do that little dig at Green Lantern as well, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't remind people that you made Green Lantern, Fox. That's a bad idea. Because it was it Fox?
Yeah. No, hang on. What are you on about?
It was Warner Bros.
Yeah, it's DC.
Okay. Then yeah, sure. Mention it all you want. But yeah.
In the trailer they did for Deadpool, they made a joke towards the X-Men Origins film as well.
Oh yeah.
That was quite funny. I think the trailer was actually more Deadpool than the trailer.
Yeah, but then maybe it's because Deadpool has to carry the entire film himself. Like, I know he carries whole comics and stuff like that, but the structure of films is still very much structured so that it's some kind of obstacle to overcome, some kind of story arc. Like, Deadpool might work better if he was the supporting character, maybe, of a more serious character who actually did all the serious things, and then Deadpool could just be Deadpool. But as he's got to have some kind of narrative, rather than just fucking shit up. Potentially they could have done the narrative in more of a structure that was just a bit ridiculous the entire way through.
Yeah.
Just as, like, essentially a 2-hour acid trip. But yeah, I think it will be a good mix of...
I hope it's a good film. I hope the trailer's there to just... Because from that trailer it looks a little tad generic, but I'm guessing that's maybe to just get the audience there.
Yeah.
And hopefully the film will take us by surprise a bit.
I mean, I really do hope Deadpool's good, because if Deadpool isn't, then it's not looking good for Fox.
No. Although X-Men's still doing well.
X-Men's still doing well.
But that's largely down to Bryan Singer, isn't it?
Yeah, when Bryan Singer gets to do what he does with X-Men, then that usually ends up alright.
Yeah.
But then
I think out of all the superhero trailers we've had most recently, I still think Suicide Squad looks the best to me. I think that looks like the least generic, the most mental.
It looks possibly even the closest to its comic book,
to its source
iterations with the aesthetic and everything.
Oh, it just looks fantastic, and it looks gritty as well without being, without lacking fun.
Yeah,
because a lot of films at the moment are trying to sort of copy Nolan's success of making things darker and this, that and the other. You can see a bit of that from the trailers for Fantastic Four, how they try to go a bit down that sort of alley, and that's not a pun towards Thomas and Martha Wayne. But yeah, I mean, like, that worked well because it was the first time we saw something like a comic book film that sort of tonally gritty and this, that and the other, and it just worked amazingly because Nolan's a fantastic director as well. But this looks like it's going with that realistic, gritty approach, but also just chucking in loads of fun as well. It just looks like a fun film.
It was... What year was Dark Knight? Was it
2008?
2008, yeah. So, yeah, it was really... The Dark Knight came out around the same time as Iron Man.
Yeah.
And it almost kind of set the tone for the Marvel and DC films. Because Iron Man kind of set the tone of like this kind of comedy action movie.
Yeah.
Which a lot of them have followed suit.
I mean, to be fair, Batman Begins, I think, is hugely underrated because that was tonally identical to the Dark Knight, and I think like that's definitely worth a rewatch.
And that
2005 that was
2004, wasn't it? For there every 4 years.
No,
it was 2004, 8, 12.
5, 8,
12. Okay,
I'm pretty sure it was. I think Dark Knight Rises took longer as well because he wasn't sure he wanted to do a sequel straight away until he had the material to do it with. Yeah,
because Batman Begins came out around the same time as Spider-Man 2, which was also seen as quite good. But then that just amplifies the contrast between the Marvel, even though that was obviously Sony doing the Marvel property.
Yeah,
like the Marvel approach of making it colourful and kind of bouncy, and the DC approach of being quite serious in tone and
desaturated.
It worked all through that decade, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just some of them were coming. Some of them took the wrong parts of Nolan's trilogy as the reasons why
wrong parts of Nolan's trilogy.
Parts of
Nolan's trilogy.
As in, they're like, oh, it's dark and gritty, but they didn't appreciate that the dark and gritty was just one of the composite parts.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You've got to have the right story, the right actors, the right plot twists, and the right everything's got to fit together. That's what makes a perfect film. Dark Knight is a perfect film, and and yeah, I mean, can I briefly defend The Dark Knight Rises as well, because that was probably the least favoured of.
Well, I like it. So.
I like it as well. I mean, like I know we do, but I'd like to argue just briefly that it got a bit of a hard press because it wasn't The Dark Knight, and I think because The Dark Knight was so well put together and so up there in terms of perfection,
it was always going to be a
tough act to follow, and I think he did it. I think he couldn't have done it any better. Like, I mean, it's the way it sort of resolves plot ends and the way and the physical battle that Bruce and Batman have is totally different to the mental battle we had perhaps with the Joker, and I think he couldn't have ended any better than that.
I mean, the only one of the only criticisms I've seen of it is it's like, so Batman turns up for about a year, then he goes into hiding for like 10 years, and then he turns up for like a week, and that is Batman's entire reign in Gotham. Like, whereas Batman's supposedly around for years and quite a long time. In fact, like, it'd be nice if there was more villains or more implied Batman.
I'm glad they didn't add any more to that trilogy.
Yeah, just as my
because I remember I saw at one point, I don't know if it was just a rumour or not, but they offered Christian Bale a huge paycheck to return for Batman vs Superman. I don't know if this was rumour or not, but I saw it reported that Christian Bale was offered the role. But I'm so glad he didn't get it.
Yeah.
Because that whole Nolan trilogy just needs to be locked away, and because you can't. It's just it's perfection in itself. It's as good as perhaps the Back to the Future trilogy. You just sort of leave it there.
Yeah.
Without, I mean, Star Wars, which we'll come to later. That's our big discussion today. I mean that they sort of got away with it with some controversy, but that at least I don't know what I'm trying to say. I mean, it felt like Star Wars could go on because it's a huge universe, whereas I didn't think we needed to see any more of. No,
yeah,
we'd like to, but always leave the audience wanting more. You know.
Yeah, and also
because the Phantom Menace and the prequels, which aren't bad, I don't think, but they did sort of prove that. Maybe don't ask for any more.
Yeah. If Nolan hadn't ended The Dark Knight Rises the way he had, then there was always risk that someone at the studio would have been greedy and continued it with or without him, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So having the beginning clearly defined as the beginning, having everything in between clearly defined as what happened and nothing else. It stops it from being tampered with. Exactly,
yeah. And maybe in 30 years' time he'll do a special edition Blu-ray and just add loads of CGI things in, a few bats, just more, and get floating around.
And he'll slowly and surely go crazy. He'll make the prequels.
He'll make sure Bane shot first. I don't know.
Oh, George Lucas.
We'll come to you later, George. I've managed to drag out film news to possibly one of our longest film news sections yet, despite being no news.
I think it was mostly just discussing superhero movies, wasn't it? It was like a second discussion.
It was like a mini discussion. Phil, gaming.
Yes. So, they, as I think I may have mentioned on this show before, they released the amiibos for all the Smash Brothers characters. Like, I was going to start listing characters then, but if you know Smash Bros, you know the characters that are in it. And they've just recently shown off the design for Mewtwo, who's, funny enough, he's number 51.
Oh, like on the original...
Well, in the original, he's 151, isn't he?
Yeah. So,
which was quite funny. And he actually looks pretty damn good. It might just be the lighting, but he was recently shown off at the Gamescom show. I mean, as far as like a hand-painted... If you were a collector of any kind of Pokemon statues or anything like that, I'd definitely say look at the Mewtwo amiibo. Because he does look pretty damn menacing.
I still can't get over that thing I saw on Facebook, the fact that his tail starts in his crotch area. And that model was really emphasising that. Yeah,
that kind of bulges out. But not in
We're here just analysing Mewtwo's crotch.
But, like, the thing is, the front bulges out, not in the way like a crotch bulge would be, but more in the way that an old lady wears a You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay, right.
So it's not really a penis, maybe just he's old. And he's got his trousers riding too high. So yes, you can pick that up. I think in October it's due for release.
Okay.
Which is, so that'll be the 51st.
That's Mewtwo and his bulge coming this October.
Connect his bulge to your copy of Smash Bros for Wii U and train his bulge to do whatever you want by fighting his bulge.
There'll be another character on the next Smash Brothers game. Mewtwo's bulge. This is the weirdest discussion I think we've had on this show.
Yes. So that's... Yeah, the amiibo are still coming out in their waves. I think he's part of wave 6. Because obviously they've been doing it since Smash Bros came out in November. Every 2 months, a few more come out. They've pretty much, in the UK at least, I think they pretty much got the shortages under control. Because when they were first released, there was huge amiibo shortages.
Right.
But I think they've got that under control now.
Yeah.
America have more shortages, and also they have more retailers kind of trying to dip their hand in it. They've got store exclusivity for certain ones, and they bundled 3 of the characters. You got the Mr. Game & Watch Duck Hunt duo, and the Rob, which is 3 very old characters. And GameStop have put them all together as a retro pack.
Oh, okay.
And that is the only way you can get them in America. Is this pack of 3, that you have to go to like a exclusive pre-order event in store to get.
Right, okay.
And it's just a lot of rubbish,
Yeah.
essentially. Just a lot of rubbish. But luckily in the UK there's nothing like that. Alright, so Mighty Number 9, which I've mentioned to you before, made by Concept. It's the Megaman spiritual sequel.
Yeah.
That has been delayed again. It was due out in September, but now it's not going to be out until early 2016. And this is bad news for Concept, considering their Red Ash Kickstarter, which I mentioned during our Kickstarter episode, I think, that failed.
Oh.
Because, well, essentially people are just starting to lose their patience with these guys who they got $4 million towards Mighty Number 9, which was like quadruple what they asked for.
Yeah.
And it was meant to be out in like April, and it's still getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And then they had like the gall to be like, can we have some more money for this other game? So, as it turns out, Red Ash was actually, in the end, it was saved by a publisher who are going to publish the game. They've now funded the development.
Okay.
But, yeah, a lot of people are starting to get a bit annoyed with the constant delays and the fact that there's nothing really to show for all this investment apart from people who can't get a game out on time and are now looking for more money. So that's now out early 2016, and they're trying to do a lot of PR to try and make them look like they are actually doing things other than just sitting around and delaying games. I mean, it's actually taken them so long that the Mega Man Legacy Collection will be out first, which is quite funny because the whole reason people funded Mighty Number 9 was the fact that there was nothing to do with Mega Man happening at Capcom. And now Capcom have acted first. Capcom shot first. So yeah, it's just a bit... it's controversy, and not really much. It's just the backlash of getting everyone incredibly hyped for something and then not delivering, which is...
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, essentially.
Did you see some of the marketing for Fantastic Four?
I saw like the trailer.
Yeah, they did loads of I noticed on like Twitter and Facebook and stuff. They got all those sort of cool young people accounts, like like those React pages on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that. They always, and like those like Lad Bible and stuff like that. They got all of them to just sort of insert little ads like new Fantastic Four trailer looks sick and stuff like that in like really sort of youth-like,
God, thing is, there's only one or two of those React pages that I actually like.
I mean, some of them are quite funny. But...
Some of them are quite funny, but as soon as they seem to there seems to be one kind of thing called like the social chain that seems to own like 90% of them. As soon as they get their hands on one that I'm following, it immediately becomes shit. Like even the stuff that they post is not really that funny anymore. So
I'm guessing like Fox went through this company, that one page then to get to
and was
all
like
the other pages. Because it would be like stuff like it would be like a reaction face from a current TV show that everyone loves, and it'd be like my face when I see the new Fantastic Four trailer. Yeah. So it's the weirdest marketing I think I've ever seen.
I mean,
because that's no one's face when they see the Fantastic Four trailer.
I mean,
you don't look like Ned Stark, like saying "wow" or whatever when the new Fantastic Four trailer comes out.
I mean, it's a clever utilisation of what's currently popular, but it's just
clearly hasn't worked.
No, it's just a bit stupid. But then that's the whole thing. The more you hype up a product, the more backlash you get if it's not good. That's why most things that companies know are bad usually sneak out of the gates without any popular... It's probably why the Fantastic trailer wasn't released until like a few weeks before the film even launched.
Fan 4 Stick, you mean?
Fan 4 Stick.
Yeah. That's weird as well. They marketed the film as two different names. One it had stylised as Fantastic Four, and on like every other trailer it was stylised as Fant 4 Stick.
For 4 Stick.
Fant with a little 4 instead of an A. Stick.
And 4 Stick.
So I mean, I don't know. They had a muddled marketing campaign as well. Because again, my problem is the first few trailers look really gritty and cool, and then in other trailers they'd use like some modern like hip hop music to try and make it look like a different sort of tone.
Yeah,
they really did push for that marketing, but it's just not going to work if the film's no good.
So, yeah, it's the kind of marketing that's trying to make back their money before people realise.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like, you know that must be something off with a game.
It's like
if none of the reviewers are getting review copies.
Yeah.
Until the game's launched, because they want to sell the game to people before people realise it's shit.
It's like advertising trips on the Titanic as it's sinking.
No, it's like if they knew the Titanic was going to sink, so they're like, okay, we've only got one cruise we can do. Let's try and sell as many tickets as possible. I don't care how you have to describe the Titanic.
You mean Tight 4-nick.
But yeah, we just need to get the Titanic full. We need to get the people paying loads of money before it sinks.
Exactly. They knew. I think they sort of knew, and it's sort of making sense now why they pushed so much on the advertisement. Anyway, we'll move back onto gaming because we could talk about Fantastic Four as a whole week's topic. I think we nearly already have.
Well, supposedly we were going to do Fantastic Four versus Ant-Man, but I'm not sure if there's much point in that now, considering they're not very close, are they?
No. I was expecting them to be more of a battle between Fox and Marvel, but it just hasn't ended up that way at all.
No. There's a game that's been in development for a little while. It's called No Man's Sky, and it's a procedurally generated space exploration game. So it's procedural, it'll generate a planet that you land on, and you can explore it.
Wow.
Thing. It actually looks really cool.
That sounds awesome.
But the first reports from playtesters, it's because these are randomly generated, there's no existing layouts or anything. It's like all the playtesters are immediately losing their ships as soon as they land. Because they're getting out, wandering around and being like, oh shit, I've forgotten we're apart. So, apparently a lot of playtesters now are like...
That's an easy fix though, isn't it? You could just get a little arrow thing at the top of the screen like they used to have on Simpsons Hit and Run.
Yeah. And, well, some of the playtesters apparently using paper and penciling it down. And drawing the maps of the planets they're exploring. So
or even a simple grid coordinate system could.
Yeah,
like but that sounds like a great game. What's that on platform?
It'll be PC, I think, PS4 as well. But yeah, it's pretty cool because the thing is, it will I think it might be a case where you can discover other people's planets as well, and it'll just slowly but surely be hosting this universe of
That's
these planets.
That's going to be amazing.
So it looks pretty cool. It's a really nice looking art style, and there's all these different types of biomes and things you can find on planets. So yeah, looks pretty good.
Sounds sick, bruv.
Sounds proper sick. But I thought that was quite interesting, the whole idea of losing your ship. I mean, shit. Oh no, I'm stuck on this procedurally generated.
Are they huge open world sort of platforms?
I know that. From the gameplay bits I've seen, it looks quite seamless between going from the planet's surface back into space, but I'm not sure how big the planets are by themselves.
I remember moving on to Assassin's Creed 4 for the first time and thinking bloody hell, that is the biggest open world thing ever.
Well, the thing is,
I've only briefly played GTA 5. That's the biggest at the moment you can get, isn't it?
Yeah.
Biggest level.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's been certain cheats used over the years, Zelda Wind Waker had this huge open world, but that's because it was a huge ocean, and the actual playable bits were these islands.
Right. Sort of what Black Flag does as well.
Yeah. So you're sailing between them, literally, in the original GameCube version. The sailing was just fast enough that the little GameCube was puffing away, deloading what you just left behind and trying to load up the horizon, but it made the world feel huge because of this huge, boundless ocean with silhouettes on the horizon of all the islands and things. But nowadays we actually have the power to actually make these full open worlds, so it's quite interesting. So I was talking to you about this a little bit before we started recording, but there is a portable Steam machine coming out. It was originally being called the Steam Boy as a reference to Game Boy, which is the first handheld, but now it's the Schmack Zero. The Schmack Zero. I've written it down as
Schmack.
I've written it down as Smack, but I'm not sure if there's meant to be a H in there. I've forgotten. But yes, it is going to be the first portable Steam machine.
Apart from a kettle.
You made this joke earlier.
But not on the podcast.
No, not on the podcast though. I think I may have mentioned that. know how much it retails for, this portable device?
Didn't we say about 200? Just over 200?
Well, it's, yeah, $300, so that'd be maybe £200.
220 or 230, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be $300. It'll run the Steam operating system, and it'll be a 64-bit system as well. Like, you get 32-bit and 64-bit
Right,
PCs. Yeah. I think the only thing that I can see holding it back is it's alright. It's got 4 GB of RAM and 32 GB of internal storage, but that's okay. But it's not great if you wanted to play anything.
Would it? I mean,
big.
Right, yeah. Would it not sort of rely on the graphics card and this and the other as well, though?
It seems to have a good mix of GPU and CPU, which is like the graphics and the computing power and things like that. But it's just like, for example, it would be able to play maybe Arkham Knight and Arkham City, but no way would it be able to play like Arkham Knight.
Right.
Because the install size is just too big.
Right, okay.
So the main thing is that 32 gigabytes doesn't hold that many games nowadays. It does on the Wii U a bit.
Maybe it's internet based. I don't know.
Because I don't
like a cloud, like everything.
That's the
has
thing.
A cloud these days.
Lots of people have been saying maybe it's like streaming, but I'm not sure how reliable that feature would be either. And also battery life and things like that are all coming into question. I mean, obviously the first step into essentially trying to have a portable, I was about to say a portable PC, but that's a fucking laptop, isn't it? But like a handheld games console that plays PC games was always going to be like a rocky first step.
Yeah.
Or it was going to be monumentally expensive.
Yeah. So it's both.
So, yeah, because for $300,
you could get a laptop.
You could
a good gaming laptop for about $300, $230.
Not a good gaming.
Well, one that can play the same sort of games,
but
like Arkham Knight.
You could get a PS Vita or a 3DS for a lot less than that. Or for a little bit more, you could just get a PS4 or an Xbox One. Because the thing is, like, a handheld systems only really work at the moment is because they're slightly less powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, the 3DS still manages to do quite good things, and as does the PS Vita. The PS Vita is a lot more powerful than the 3DS's. But yeah, a lot of people are just saying it might just be good for indie games because of its kind of
like Arkham City, yeah.
Well, like
yeah,
recently released indie games
with less memory than some of the big ones.
Yeah, less memory and less.
I get
space. But yeah, so get the Smack Zero.
Smack.
Smash. I can't stop calling it Smack Zero.
Smack Zero. Shake not stir.
So yes, other news. There was a report this week about the working conditions at Konami.
Oh.
Turns out not great. Essentially, what can happen if you're a developer and you're underperforming is you can get reassigned. You might get moved over to Konami's... you might actually get made a janitor.
Right.
Or one of their security team.
Okay.
You get literally demoted
from being a developer to
from being a games developer if you're not performing.
Do they call janitor a fancy title like a floor cleanliness developer?
No, I doubt it, but it seems like the career progression from The Sims, where you'd randomly jump up the ladder of this company by doing the most random jobs at times. But yeah, it's just a way of them keeping their essentially employees they don't value their employees at all. They just, even if you've been a good developer and you've sent out multiple games that have been quite well received, you're still not safe and things like that. And
crazy.
Apparently there's it can take 2 weeks to get resources that you need, and they don't have even employee emails set up
for you.
Where is it, Japan? I think it's mostly Japan, yeah. The stories that they're talking about Japan. Because Konami have been... Well, did you ever hear about Silent Hills? Silent Hills.
The game?
No, it was doing the alien thing. Because you had Silent Hill, but this was Silent Hills.
Oh, okay.
And it was Del Toro and Hideo Kojima working on it. So, the director...
Guillermo del Toro.
The director
Of Hellboy and Pacific Rim, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Hideo Kojima, who's Metal Gear Solid games. And they're making this really quite good-looking version of Silent Hill called Silent Hills. Supposedly it was just like bumpy ground. But that got cancelled like without any warning, and now they've basically just been... Hideo Kojima's basically being kicked out of Konami.
Oh.
His name's been taken off the most recent Metal Gear Solid.
Right.
Despite the fact he developed it.
Oh, okay.
So, Konami aren't really gaining any friends at the moment.
Right. Oh dear.
And it's just a lot of their more interesting games are being cancelled.
It's like me, like going onto your YouTube and just starting to remove the Haddowinc little thing from these videos.
Yeah. It'd be like at the end of this.
This is me, NGM.
Yeah, if you just edited it out. It wouldn't... not even that subtly. It'd just be like... just taking my name out of the description, taking any detail or reference to me out of any of the video details. Even if you could still hear my voice, you could be like, that's not Phil.
I'm going to get Patrick to dub in all your lines.
But yeah, it's just Konami acting a bit shittily towards people at the moment.
Mm.
Maybe they're jealous of EA winning Worst Company of the Year a few years ago. Yes, my last bit of gaming news. Like I said, there wasn't much.
This is the longest news section we've had, isn't it?
Mostly because we were just discussing films for a while. But there is Nintendo mobile games coming out, just a few of them.
Oh, okay, cool.
For I believe they're mostly going to be just small bites of what you could get on a Nintendo system kind of thing. Right. Just kind of cleverly using it as part advertising, part action
like Fallout
games.
do with that shelter thing.
Yeah, I think there's 8 games planned, each a different genre and each from a different franchise. But yeah, apparently they're almost ready.
It's going to be the alright Mario Brothers rather than the Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, I hope it's... Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I hope it's not like Mario Bros. Lite. And platformer games don't work on iPads and things like that anyway. But yeah, they're getting ready to announce their first Nintendo mobile game because they're doing it with a Japanese company called Dena.
Dena.
Who they've partnered with for all of this.
Right.
So yeah, I've got a feeling it'll probably be because they're developing a new like cross-platform system. Like they used to have Club Nintendo where you just used to register products and things like that. That's been stopped, and they're working on something that's going to be like across mobile and PC and their new console NX, which is in development.
Okay.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if this is all one giant connected plan to try and get people to actually buy their new console rather than just forget about it like the Wii U. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the game they bring out, I wouldn't be surprised if there's Mario Kart Mobile or Animal Crossing Mobile. There'll be very casual games, I imagine, because like I doubt Pikmin Mobile would do very well because real-time strategy on like a touchpad, you'd just be like you'd just be smashing the glass.
Splatoon?
I doubt it.
No.
I highly doubt it.
You're a kid now. You're a squid now. Throwback to episode 1.
I still don't know. Am I a squid now or am I a kid now?
Yeah. Are we human or are we dancers?
I'm surprised that's not like a version of that game yet. Where I don't even know how that would work, being human and then dancer, rather than squid and kid.
We are around 50 minutes in.
50?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ!
Wow. That is we've talked a lot of news.
We've talked a lot of news.
So this will be a not so long 20-ish minute discussion.
20,
30, yeah.
Yeah.
Kick us off.
Yeah, so Star Wars.
You may have heard of it.
You may have heard of it. You might get confused with the one with the Spock. But either way, I think it's big enough in pop culture that the majority of people have heard of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Even if they aren't clear on the details. But essentially then, for Christmas this year, the new film coming out, a new Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens.
So we thought we'd discuss the old films today.
Episode 7.
Well, they started off with...
This is easier than Doctor Who because there's a lot less of them.
Yeah.
We're not going to be talking about expanded universe.
We're not going to be talking about expanded universe. We're probably not going to touch on the TV shows or the books.
Or a little bit on the games, maybe.
A little bit on the games if we have time, but this will mostly be on the films. Because obviously it was in the 70s, wasn't
episodes
it?
episodes II, episodes III, episode IV, episode V, episode VI.
And maybe a short word on episode VII.
Which isn't out yet.
And that, kids...
Are you impressed by my Roman there? My fluent Roman?
Yes, your Roman numerals. I was about to say, I like Roman numerals.
Yeah, looks cool. Don't often get it. That's where Star Wars really comes into its own.
So, one thing I've always meant to look up, I mean, I assume it wasn't, but at what point did they decide that The New Hope was episode 5? No, they decided that Empire Strikes Back is episode 5 and not episode 2. Like, at what point was he like...
Oh no, 90s, after all of them had come out. It was Star Wars episode 2, The Empire Strikes Back. Or I think they didn't have the episode 2.
I don't think they had the episode references,
I think it was Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back.
It was Star Wars,
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Star Wars, Return of the Jedi.
And then in the 90s, when Phantom Menace was announced...
Yeah, when they were playing Phantom Menace, it became A New Hope.
They stuck VI onto A New Hope.
IV, or A New Hope.
IV, correct, yeah. Fuck.
But yeah, because the old films are quite good for their use of practical effects, aren't they?
They're immense, yeah.
Because it's quite interesting, like, watching some of the behind-the-scenes bit, like the explosion of the Death Star. Spoilers.
Come on.
It was to get that explosion effect of it, like, exploding like that, they actually filmed it from underneath. Because filming it from the side didn't give that look.
Right, okay.
So they had a camera underneath and a model of the Death Star.
Yeah.
And that gave the explosion of it outwards, because otherwise you'd have had gravity like messing up your explosion.
It's just the amount of sets and props you see, and like the hard work that went into it. It really paid off. Like CGI, which was extensively used in the prequels, just didn't have that same feel as the original films, where you could like the detail that in all the matte painters and stuff, adding those backgrounds in and those props and models that they just tired after. And I mean, it's got a lot of character as well, the original 3 films, because it wasn't as seamless as the stuff we've got now. Because George Lucas was respected. He did American Graffiti. Yeah,
American Graffiti
just
was
prior,
made his name.
That made his name, and he did a sci-fi as well previous to that called something like 3518. I can't remember the name of but he made a sci-fi prior to that. And American Graffiti is the one that really put him slightly on the map, though. But he still had lots of budgetary issues. The studio didn't want to do it. All the actors were tireless, filming out in these deserts and stuff. It didn't look like it was going to happen, but it really, like, all the effort that went in really did pay off with a fantastic film.
And he's very clever with his negotiating with Fox as well.
Yeah,
he kept the marketing rights, or something like that. So he gets like huge amounts of money. Probably still now. He probably just sits rolling around with royalties.
I remember he was the single owner of Lucasfilm as well.
Yeah.
So he got that 12 billion or whatever.
Yeah.
that Disney paid.
Yeah. So
ridiculous.
He's very clever with his Star Wars stuff.
But I mean, maybe like I'd say like the fame sort of dragged him down a bit, because if we can talk briefly about we'll talk about the prequels.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had the money at this point. Easy to say. After the success of the first 3, and so it was quite easy to make the first 3 films. There wasn't quite as much effort because you could get a lot of it done with special effects and stuff. Which was quite pioneering at the time.
I mean, the thing is, he did quite a lot of pioneering in
digital effects. Yeah, but I mean, like, whether that's a good thing. I mean, was it the what was the effects company?
It's Skywalker.
No, that was sound, I think, wasn't it?
Skywalker Sound, yeah.
Visual effects company. That effects company, anyway, sort of.
Because I know it was all based at.
He co-created, I think.
I know it was all based at a place called Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah. Luke was originally called Luke Starkiller, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. Just a little fact there. But no, if you consider Jar Jar Binks was the first integrated CG fully aware character, if you like, in a film. Like, pioneering, yes. Good.
The thing is, I think possibly at the time, wasn't he trying to make films that his kids would enjoy, kind of thing? Like he was trying to make quite. That's why the Phantom Menace ended up being quite.
Yeah, I know, but like even so,
tame.
like Return of the Jedi had fucking teddy bears in it, but it was still a good film.
Although Return of the Jedi is always seen as the weakest of the original
weakest
trilogy.
of the originals, definitely. Yeah.
And that battle between the Ewoks and the soldiers is just. It's great to watch, but it's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
The whole idea that they're throwing these little, like, handmade tomahawks, and it's, like, bouncing off their helmets, and like, I'm dead.
But no, still a good film.
Yeah.
Just not the best. Phil, your favourite film?
I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I know when I was younger, it used to be, I think, I liked anything with had a good space battle in it, so I think I'd put the 4 for the original Death Star run.
Right.
But I think maybe 5, because it's a lot.
It felt like a bit of a heist film, didn't it, in 4? I liked that.
Well, that's the whole appeal of the original trilogy, isn't it? It's just, despite the fact there is this huge world outside, it was very intimate.
Yeah.
This cast of
and
characters.
partly due to budget, but that sort of helped it, if anything, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. 5, I think. It's a cliche, but 5's my favourite.
Yeah.
I know everyone says that, but it's just such a great film.
Yeah.
And some of the effects, all the visuals on Cloud City, that's where it opened up a bit in terms of budget and universe and stuff, didn't it? They showed a bit more. The ice planet, the Cloud City and stuff. It was just nothing like it. It's just amazing.
I mean, yeah. It's quite interesting because a cloud-based city like Bespin would be the kind. If we ever had to move to Venus for whatever reason, we would literally have to build it just like that. Because in the clouds, you could live quite happily. Well, almost acid. But you couldn't live on the surface. So, like the whole kind of conceptually, it was quite interesting as well. And I don't know, like obviously, we never watched it in the main cinemas. But can you imagine being like one of the first people to see it out of your friends, and then
when no one knew that Darth Vader, spoiler, is Luke Skywalker's father.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't imagine seeing that like properly, because it was. I mean, I was quite young and I didn't understand like plot twists so much back then, so it wasn't as big a deal. But I can just imagine seeing that in the cinema as well, and the visuals as well. Like, as you say, the space battles and stuff in Episode 4. They're just amazing what they did with some of that stuff. Because we went to see recently 2001 at the cinema, because they replayed it at where Phil's at uni, at the local cinema there, and it's just something else to watch it on a big screen with all those new visuals. Well, not new visuals for us, but all those visuals. You can imagine people at the time being absolutely blown away by it.
Yeah.
And then just imagine Star Wars with that. Would have been something else.
Yeah. Like,
we grew up at least with some Star Wars films in the cinema.
Yeah. I can't remember whether I saw Episode 1 in the cinema or not.
I imagine I probably quite enjoyed it at the time.
I definitely saw Episode 2 in the cinema.
Yeah.
And I definitely saw Episode 3 more than once in the cinema because different family members hadn't seen it. So I ended up just tagging along with quite a few trips.
I still enjoy Episode 3 out of the other two the most.
What you mean, out of the prequels?
Out of the prequels, I think Episode 3 is the best. Out of the prequels, man.
Out of the prequels, I'd say yes. I think the general consensus as well, because I do know kind of the the general scores for these films. I know that 5 is generally considered. I know it generally goes 5, 4, 6, 3, 1, 2. 2 is generally seen as the worst.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's just certain things like the romance.
Oh god, the romance. Oh god. Don't remind me about the romance. I forgot about that. Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah. Oh dear.
I don't get it as well, because Hayden Christensen wasn't mind-blowing as an actor, but he had potential. Like in episode 3, I'm going to put this out there, he had some quite good acting moments in episode 3. And Natalie Portman, she's a good actor.
Yeah,
if you've ever seen V for Vendetta, she's an amazing actress.
I love the bits in episode 3 where he gets really angry and his eyes just go like to side. You know, where he gets that stare.
Yeah.
Which is meant to be like his really angry stare, but his eyes are going all funny.
No, come on. I think people are a bit harsh on Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, I think he did a good job.
Of a shit plot. Bear in mind, he had to say the word, I hate sand. It's got, like, what was it? It's just like, it's brittle and coarse texture. He had to say that. Like, no one could have done that convincingly.
No.
And he had to be awkward, like, that's part of the script. I think he made the best out of that script. I didn't think he was too bad an actor.
No. It's just, yeah. I mean, like, I think, out of the original trilogy, I don't think any bit got me as kind of, like, nervous and kind of glued to the screen as much as episode 3 did. Especially, like, I always even remember that it's around the hour mark. That's the whole Mace Windu versus the Emperor.
Oh, no, that fight is awful, though.
That fight is just terrible. I was
like the worst directing. I don't know how that went so wrong. I
was literally watching the film like 2 weeks ago with my brother because he has all of them but number 3 with him when he travels, so he had to see it when he'd watched all of them recently.
Yeah.
And it's just like Mace Windu shows up with 4 like Jedi.
4 Master Jedi.
And then one of them is out within a second.
Like, yeah, that's the worst fight. Like, how the fuck did George approve of that fight scene?
Yeah, after he made, like, Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen practice in, like, a hall for, like, hours on end.
Yeah.
Doing their lightsaber techniques.
Which was a good fight, bear in mind. A lot of the fights in the prequels were amazing.
Yeah, they did have some of the best fights.
The Phantom Menace duel at the end, I think, was amazing. Like with the choreography and the music and everything, that's perfect. Amazing fight. And then the Emperor versus Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, what's his name?
Dead.
Kit Fisto was awesome in the other 2. Kit Fisto took on loads of those droids and shit in Attack of the Clones. And then, like, they get to this fight. I mean, I know the Emperor is the Lord of the Sith, but he literally just jumps and just kills the first guy who's got his lightsaber up in the air, like the first guy. He's just holding it away from him, and he just dies immediately. Like, and then the second guy is straight after. Kit Fisto holds up a bit, but then he's like, hands just sort of fall over the place, and he just dies. And then Mace Windu, Mace Windu doesn't even look like he's trying.
No.
I swear none of them wanted to kill the Emperor. I mean, maybe if they explained, if there was like one line like, we don't want to kill the Emperor, if there was just a little dialogue with Mace Windu and the other Master Jedi.
Or even like when they're travelling over there being like, we can't kill the Emperor.
Yeah, exactly. Or like,
think of the trouble that would cause in the Senate.
We can't do this. And then Mace Windu saying we have to do this. That would have like maybe made that scene a bit more tolerable, but it just makes no sense. How 3 like Jedi masters just get their asses handed to them. Ugh.
Yeah, like considering that film has some quite good like fights in it. Like I do quite like the Emperor v Yoda. Yeah, even though it's just a mess of
it's
CGI.
more the Force as well. I like the fact that that's more Force based.
I mean, I think the guy who plays the Emperor in the prequels, he's not.
You say in the prequels, but the guy who plays Emperor Palpatine, I can't remember his name, was the original Emperor in Return of the Jedi.
Was he?
Yeah, and he was made up heavily in Return of the Jedi, and then but he was really young, with just a lot of prosthetics on, and then they needed someone around his age when they came to do Palpatine in Phantom Menace, so they used the same guy. It's cool. That's a cool fact, isn't it?
It's a cool fact, but he's just not the best. He's
again, I think he does a very good job at acting. He manages to keep everything snarky and sort of like reasonably okay. I think everyone guessed he was the Emperor before he was revealed as the Emperor, but I mean, I think he did a good job at manipulating the politics and all that. I think he was a good actor, but again, like the way that fight scene was shot and choreographed was just the worst. Oh, and the fucking Grievous versus Obi-Wan fight as well. what happened there?
Doesn't he just kind of just shoot him in the end?
Yeah, it's like Grievous has 4 lightsabers. 2 of them just cut off instantly, and then it's just
Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost as if George Lucas wrote himself into several corners.
Yeah,
and was like, wait, if it's going to be 4 versus 1, then that's not even a fight.
no, yeah.
The 4 Jedi will win. Wait, I could just have 3 of them die.
It's for no reason.
And like, oh, he's got 4 lightsabers. We've shown him being like a complete badass with them. Like, how is he going to get past 4 lightsabers? Why doesn't he just get 2 lightsabers?
And then none at the end.
Then none.
It's just. But yeah, some of the fight scenes. I think some of the fight scenes in the prequels were better than in the sequels, in the original.
But that's mostly due to the better technology and things like that.
Yeah, true. But I think choreography-wise, I know you had Alec McGuinness and David Prowse in a massive costume. Like, it must have been difficult to do a proper fight scene in the first Star Wars. But I mean, the Anakin versus Obi-Wan in Episode 3 was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, the choreography on that was just brilliant. It was really intense. Yeah, I quite liked Episode 3 generally.
Yeah.
Just a few little weird niggles, and the CGI has really not aged well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is quite a good film. I mean, like, in a way, like, Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan is kind of like the Commissioner Gordon of Star Wars. He doesn't guess even when Anakin and Padme have the same address. Like, they're living together or married. It's like, that's never really explained either.
No,
it's like, yeah, we've got this. Remember, you can't have any feelings or anything. It's fine. I just kind of live with the senator. It's fine though. It's just platonic.
I'm just protecting her, yeah.
Just crashing on her couch because it's a 1-bedroom place and everything. Just a bit. What? How wouldn't you guess?
Ewan McGregor was cool.
Ewan McGregor was
fantastic.
Probably one of the best parts.
Like, he channeled Alec McGuinness while creating his own personality. He managed to just channel what Obi-Wan would have been like, younger and slightly cockier and this, that and the other. I think it was fantastic. One of my favourite parts of the prequels was Ewan McGregor's acting. Plus, he was so fucking witty. Oh, yes, hello there. It's just brilliant in every line.
I wonder how much of that, like... You gotta wonder, when he gets written such good lines, why everyone else gets written bad lines.
Yeah, I know. Anakin had that line about the sand, or whatever. Whereas you had Obi-Wan just like, yes, well, so uncivilized. It's just... He did say them well as well, to be fair.
Yeah, and, I do like number 3. It's quite interesting how the films change, isn't it? I mean, do you think the prequels would have done better if they'd taken more of this original trilogy route and being smaller adventures?
I think so.
Because I think number 1 tried that to an extent because it was all about Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
Because I know they were clones, but honestly, I didn't notice the height difference in the actors in the Stormtroopers in the original films, and it didn't bother me.
Yeah. Whereas
there wasn't one physical clone in the prequel trilogy. All of them were CGI'd.
Really?
And I could tell. If you watch it again, you could probably tell. But if you were to watch again, you'd notice there isn't one physical clone outfit. I mean, I may be missing one. Maybe in episode 2. No, even episode 2, I don't think.
In episode 3, I think there's a handful from scenes when they're addressing the guards outside
I don't know.
the Jedi Temple.
You say that. You know that scene where Obi-Wan talks to Commander Cody on what's that planet called?
The one where Grievous is hiding.
Yeah, that's going to bug me. The name though. It's not Mustafar, is it? That's the
lava world.
That's the lava world. It's Mygito? No, that's a different one. Oh shit. Either way, that planet. Commander Cody's face is digitally imported onto this like fake body. And you watch it again now, it's just creepy. It's just got this head sort of slightly larger than normal on this body that's fake, and it's just the whole film, like, I don't know why they didn't use any physical things.
No. I found it interesting, like the change in design of the clone suits to become more and more like the ones that you see in the original trilogy.
Yeah, and I like the evolution of the clone outfit, even from what we've seen of episode 7. It looks like a really sweet evolution, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Everything. That's one thing they've done well. They fitted the universe together well. Because even those big Imperial Republic ships they had in 2 and 3 sort of eventually became the Imperial Star Destroyer, and it works well design wise. But I do prefer the tonal colours of the original trilogy. I think the greys and the dark blues and the bright whites and stuff work better than the sort of light blue and reds they used in the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too colourful and kiddish, as we were saying earlier.
Yeah. Well, then wasn't that the thing? Like Samuel, in terms of lightsabers and their colours, didn't Samuel Jackson ask for his own?
So
colour?
he can spot himself in the fight scene in episode 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Samuel Jackson was a good bit as well. Although, again, his death was a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, to be fair, he doesn't get much to do, but what he does, apart from his death, he does well.
Which was basically just sort of grumping over what the Jedi Council decided and stuff.
I don't know, when he...
We'll not be going ahead with that.
When he turns up, and I do think that is one of the better bits, episode 2, when he turns up, and he just gets out his lightsaber, and he
holds it to Django.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I know, that's a really cool scene. I like Django.
Yeah.
Django was cool. I like the actor. I don't mind the fact that they redubbed Boba's lines in the original trilogy to the new guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't mind that. I know some of the changes I hate in the original trilogy. Han shot first. But I don't know. I thought the voice change worked and it made sense, and it didn't really detract from the film because he's still a badass voice.
Yeah.
Like New Zealand accent. It's no good to be dead. That worked well.
I mean, he has a bit of a undignified death.
Boba and Django did, to be fair.
Yeah.
Although Boba, we know, won't. Boba will be back. He's got.
Then again, yeah, it depends. It depends what the expanded universe, because we said.
No, I reckon film-wise he'll be back as well.
Yeah, because in the expanded universe, he gets eaten by the Sarlacc 3 times, and he escapes every single time.
He's got to be back. He's the most badass character. But again, I hope they don't overuse him, because there's been rumours that he'll have his own film.
Well, if he had something good to do, like a very...
Hopefully, yeah, but I think
very intimate assassin film, maybe.
A lot of Django and Boba's appeals were that they were sort of secondary characters, and I think that made them cooler, if anything. Because they'd just sort of be in the background, just sort of nodding and being evil with their awesome helmets on and stuff.
Yeah, and it's a nice little design connection between...
them and the clones.
Yeah, to have the clones, basically them,
and
then gradually... changing their design.
Yeah. I like that Mandalorian armour. I'm hoping, even if we don't see Boba, I hope we get more Mandalorian stuff.
Well, yeah.
Because that's covered a lot in the expanded universe, of Mandalore and that lot. But I think it's a cool design that needs to...
Yeah, I know the cloning facility in the expanded universe gets destroyed though, doesn't it? They turn up there and they fucking wreck it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Because they're not cooperating with the Empire or something.
Oh, right.
And then I think that's used
I think they're going to ignore a lot of it for the films.
Yeah, and I know they're not clones in the Empire.
No.
Because they've destroyed the cloning facility. Yeah, they're just people by then.
I know, but there's a planet called Mandalore as well. That they just use that armour.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we see more of that armour, because the armour's cool, I'm not going to lie. I don't care who's in it, it's cool armour. Unless it's Jabba. Don't put Jabba in that armour, he won't look as cool.
It's like getting your fat girlfriend to dress up as it. Oh, kidding. Your girlfriend is fat and I'm single.
Any more? Who's your favourite Star Wars character?
Jar Jar Binks. I know, I always quite like the kind of ominous Darth Vader in like the original trilogy, like
always a good baddie, yeah.
And he's got it's kind of dark armour and it's very, very well, James L. Jones did a great job on the voice. He just sounded quite good.
Have you seen the behind the scenes stuff of David Prowse doing the audio?
No.
He's got this like fucking Scottish accent. He's just like, "Where are the other rebels?" It's great, the original audio. But no, I think the dub over by James Earl Jones was a lot better.
Like, there's certain things, like, I know in one of the upcoming books, I think it is, that's going to be actually part of the canon. I think it's talks about the Empress of like the Empire obviously is still around. But then, like, they had, like, the TV show where Darth Maul survives and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, do you think there'll be any returning villains?
Other than Boba.
Because we see, in the trailer, don't you see...
We see Darth Vader's melted helmet, but I don't think he's going to... There's going to be no survival there.
No, there's not going to be any survival.
Plus, we saw Anakin's ghost.
Yeah.
So...
There won't be any survival there. It's just whether it's a plot point.
Well,
like,
I mean, a lot of stuff I've seen is contemplating the new Sith guy with the cool lightsaber.
The hilt.
The hilt. I think it's cool. A lot of people don't like it, but I like it.
Well, it stops, like, a lot of people...
Count Dooku wouldn't have died if he had one.
Yeah, because it's a whole... it stops people from sliding their lightsaber down to cut off your hand.
Yeah, which happened to Count Dooku.
Yeah. And Grievous.
Yeah, 4 times. No, apparently his villain is a Sith that takes inspiration from Darth Vader, so I reckon that's going to be in his sort of possession, the Darth Vader helmet. And, like, because the Sith was dead, so maybe that's what they're using as a plot point to return the Sith. Is that?
Well, yeah, it's the whole...
Like, fans of the Sith.
It'll probably have a very brief word on the prophecy. You know, the prophecy from the prequels. But if it was balancing the Force, then it left...
I reckon they won't mention midichlorians.
I reckon they won't mention midichlorians, but I reckon there'll be probably one throwaway line being like, yeah, balancing the Force means 1 Jedi and 1 Sith.
Yeah.
Which is Luke and the guy that's going to be an episode.
Kylo Ren? Kylo Ren, I think, is the new guy.
And, yeah, so do you think there's going to be the whole New Republic kind of thing?
I don't know. I think, like, maybe they won't... Maybe
because this is not a wiped out empire even after like 30 years.
But I don't think I don't know if they'll focus just on the empire because they've been doing that for a while now. Like, I think maybe they might finally get rid of the empire, because otherwise, if they did it too many other times, like, because episode 4 teased the end of the empire and then episode 6 teased the end of the empire, I don't think they can do it again. I think they have to get rid of it, and maybe like the Sith work with a new Force or something, or it's just the Sith. I don't know. I hope this film, like, brings back the whole situation, but then I hope the film after is a lot more enclosed, like the original Star Wars.
Yeah, because it's quite interesting. Like the book I just mentioned, you know, it was actually an added scene in the end of episode 6 when it shows the celebration of Coruscant and like the statue falling over and thing. That's where the new book starts.
Oh, okay.
And actually, as soon as that scene happens, the book essentially says that everyone gets killed there. Everyone who's celebrating the end of the Empire gets killed by the Empire of Coruscant.
Right.
For celebrating, essentially. So, yeah, like, they'll probably... if the Empire versus the Rebels is more background, I wouldn't mind. Like, if the progress is kind of happening, but it's not the direct focus.
I like the fact that we've got the anthology films as well.
To fill in the gaps.
To make it more enclosed, because those films I pretty much bet they'll be more enclosed, because they won't be wide scale. Like we get the Avengers films, which are these massive films, and then you get, in my opinion, the slightly better quality little films in between. Like, I think some of the smaller Marvel films have been better than the big team up films.
Well, narratively.
Yeah, because the team up films have to be the big money bringers, but then you've got these slightly more niche, slightly more perhaps creative films. So, like, even if the big Star Wars films aren't what we're hoping, then I think at least the anthology films are a great move, because they ensure we get more Star Warsness, which is always good.
Yeah,
as well.
So it's about to go Star Wars crazy all up in here.
Yay!
Yeah, I think we've discussed a good bit on the old films.
I think we've done a good job there.
So,
that's about it for us.
Yes, I think so. I mean, we're going to be off for 2 weeks now.
Yeah. Because Phil is...
I'm away, and then Nick's away, essentially.
Exactly, yeah. So, we'll wrap up there. We'll try and get something to you, maybe. We'll get maybe Patrick's theme tune
Yeah.
as a standalone video.
But until then, I think we'll keep you posted on Twitter, I think.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted as to what happens.
Anyway, we'll see you next time. I've been Haddowinc.
And I've been NGM.
Bye.
Bye bye.